The sample in that hip hop stylings was Frank Sinatra's "A Day in the Life of the Fool." Because I did something with my next guest that I don't normally do, which is I asked him what his favorite music was because I like to make these silly little promo things and I use hip hop instrumentals, but I usually try to fuse it with something that I like. And I was like, oh, guests, right. I should ask them if they like stuff. So on that note, Ryan Lindley.
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
Sorry, the proper intro. I'm good. Ryan Lindley is place title here for the Dean Blundell Network. I don't know what your title would be, but I know what you do.
Renaissance man.
And you, my friend, should have a robe
Renaissance
and a staff. Yeah.
What's up?
How are you, buddy? What's going on?
I'm good, thank you. I actually just finished my adult real job and was able to rustle things over. It's funny how I have my office set up. I have my work things here and podcast things here, and it's not that big of a desk, but I share the big monitor for both. So
I find it interesting that you also include your alcohol as part of your work things because it's right there.
That's back. There's some back there,
and over there, and there's some
and
over there
here,
too.
My liver's processing from last night. There's some in there.
How'd that go? What were you drinking last night?
Just the usual whiskey and Pepsis last night while I was ranting about emergencies acts and Ukraine and Russia, which is
Whiskey and Pepsi. Is that good? That's like the Bizarro World villain for like rum and Coke.
Yeah, I'm not a huge rum guy. I like it in like a fruity drink, like what somebody may call a girly drink. Ashley makes these really good Shirley Temples, but she adds rum to them, so she calls them Dirty Shirleys. That's like my closeted favorite drink in the world.
So Shirley Temple post 19 years old.
Yeah. Depending on what part of the province you're from.
She just goes by Miss Temple by then, I think.
That's right.
I used to mix vodka with pressed apple cider juice, and it was fantastic.
I've had
Because I don't understand how syrupy orange juice got all tied into vodka. I don't like it's so heavy.
I find it fascinating that you take the D out of the word vodka.
I do?
You just said
I
vodka. James doesn't get the D.
I do not. I know that sound.
Yeah, no, I'm an equal opportunity alcoholic, so it's not too bad. I'll drink whatever's in front of me. Usually, I'm just not a fan of like Jack Daniels and the usual that kind of stuff. But
I can't stand someone. When I was in high school, somebody gave me a shot of something. I think it was rye or something like. It was probably Crown Royal or something. And I literally I did a whole speech in front of all my friends about how this someone played a practical joke on somebody like hundreds and hundreds of years ago and was like, take this, all of it. And everyone laughed at that person. And you're carrying the tradition like a bunch of dummies because that was disgusting. Like I've been so anti-shots. I just don't understand why anyone would do that to their esophagus. You know,
yeah,
it doesn't.
I agree. I'm a mixed drink guy. If it's like a really good, pretentious with our scotch or something, then yeah, of course I'll go along with the crowd and not sully it with some sort of a mix. But I'll add like an ice cube to it just because I'll say that a whiskey aficionado has said in the past that you have to add water to a whiskey to activate it. So I'll go with that.
Do you think that's true?
I don't care. It works. It works.
Was it a multi-level marketing whiskey company?
Yeah. So it's I don't discriminate when it comes to booze usually.
I realized because I asked you to come on the show because I couldn't land a guest for today. No, I'm just kidding. I want to talk to everybody internal
Thanks,
at the
Bonzi.
network. So I've been doing this here. No, for real. Like I want to talk to everyone at the network on the show. And I realized that although I feel like I kind of know you and know your personality, I don't know anything about you at all. So I was just wondering if you could tell me who this person is and where did they grow up?
Oh, hey, look at that guy.
Yeah.
It's my wife's favorite picture of me, by the way.
Because you can tell that your mom didn't want to spring for a haircut at the haircutters, so she just cut your bangs herself, right?
She absolutely did. A lot. I used to get that a lot, actually. Yeah, my mom was a single mom. Grew up with my brother, who's 10 years my senior, and she raised us both on her own, making like shit money and, bouncing from house to house and moving and lots of things. But we made do. We never wanted for anything. She always made sure she came through for us and worked 6 days a week until she was diagnosed with cancer, because that's usually how it goes, and was dead within 6 months. So, yeah, it was. I grew up with a different value structure than a lot of my friends just because of that. And I actually credit my mom for a lot of my drive and what I do. My work ethic comes from my mom. So my brother's 10 years older. He lives out in the sticks, not too far from me now. I live in the suburb sticks now. And
you see, this is my face, and when someone from the suburbs goes, "I lived in the sticks."
yeah,
I literally, if I pointed the camera that way, there's just forest as far as the eye can see.
I know. I have a friend that's got a cottage, a family generational cottage land in Barry's Bay. Actually, I've been up there a few times near you. So, yeah.
So I didn't know you were Polish.
They are. Traberski.
Yeah, I know. I don't know who they are, but I know they're Polish.
Of course they are. But yeah, his family's had a place up there with.
Sorry, I missed the place. Where did you grow up? I missed that. Just
Hamilton.
That one
I've born and raised
okay.
in Hamilton. Yeah, no, I never left. Did I? No. I think that the furthest I've been is like Stony Creek, which is still now part of Hamilton since the amalgamation. So
yeah. I like that area. I lived in Dundas for a year. I often tell people that that was one of the greatest years of my life. Like, you know,
it's one of our
I worked
favorites.
at
Sorry, my grandparents actually lived right behind the driving park in Dundas, and Ashley and I. It's our favorite little town that's close for restaurants and. You know,
I lived above there was a hemp clothing store in the downtown strip, and I lived above it in one of these old, like, big windowed, kind of high ceiling, like old school. Like, I don't know how old that Four Corners or whatever is, but it's pretty old.
It's pretty old. Yeah. How long ago was that?
2005.
I worked at remember the Pioneer gas station right on Cooch Drive there when I was a kid. My buddy's
really?
dad owned that. Yeah. So
I worked at the Thirsty Cactus.
My stepbrother stepbrother, he was the kitchen manager at the Collins for decades.
Oh, really? The Collins was the better one. I worked at the trashy part. The trashy
Thirsty Cactus is great for pulled pork tacos, though. It's Ashley's favorite. Yeah, they've got good food.
I hated it there. I liked the people that I worked with, but management was just, you know. One manager goes, "James, you know what your MO is?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm sure you're about to tell me, Angela." Right? And she's like, "When you do something, you then say you're sorry." And I'm like, "Okay."
How thought provoking.
You know what I said? Sorry. I swear to God. She's like, "Go home." I'm like, "Am I fired?" She's like, "No, you're in tomorrow." And I'm like, "All right, sorry."
That's so funny.
See you later. But I love that area. I like any escarpment town. I don't know. It's like a good part of Ontario that, you know, it's kind of good that it's sort of like I said to my buddy who lived in Dundas, why don't more people know about this place? He's like, "Shut up, no one." And it's like a lot of like well-to-do professors and stuff like that, and, you know, environmental professors and shit. Like, I don't know. I had great conversations in Dundas. It was
had a lot of the Mac crowd, the Mac faculty live in Dundas, and one thing that Dundas held for, I don't know if they still do, I haven't looked it up in a while, but they had the largest amount per capita of unwed mothers in the country.
Oh.
Was Dundas, Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah, because they all live with their parents.
I always thought it was a weird claim to fame that Dundas held, but that was something that they proudly cherished,
Great.
I'm sure.
So Dundas is the Surrey of Ontario.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well done, Dundas. So how old were you when your mom passed?
I was 31. Because she died in 2011. So yeah, 31.
Man, I'm like, I think about as we get old, because my dad passed away a while back, and he wasn't like whatever. It was what it was, and then I'm sitting there holding on to this thought that I got one parent left, and my boss at my work at the library, her mom just died, and she's like 63 or something, and she's like, even at 63, I still feel like an orphan.
That was my mom was 62, And same thing. One of the things I say now, it's something that you don't know until it happens, is you're never truly alone in this world until your mom goes, right? Like it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much you have. Like at the time, like Kaylee was, I already had my daughter. I had things going. Everything was, you have your own established life, but that feeling of you're now actually there. That safety net of mom, no matter how old you are, is always nice to have. It's a good thing. But once it's gone, it's like, holy shit. Now I'm actually that adult that's out here on my own. I can't call my mom and, look for help or even just to bitch with, like just, I miss that. I was friends with my mom as well. Like that was the thing. Like we were close. So it was
What was
hard.
her name?
Ruth.
Ruth.
Her parents, her parents came from, they fled the war. They're Lithuanian. They fled the war. They went to Caracas for 10 years. They were hoteliers in Caracas, and that's where my mom was born, was actually in Venezuela. And she came to Canada when she was 12. And it was a very last minute decision of either you're going to Chicago, Illinois, or you're going to Hamilton, Ontario. And thank Christ, my grandfather went, no, we're going to Canada.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what South Side Chicago is, honey, but it's either that or Hamilton. Okay.
Exactly. So we ended up here, and we never left. So that was
when it came to your background, I was like, he's either like somewhere in between Hungarian and like from Beirut. I just
close.
Tough to tell. You could go out as like one of those like 1980s terrorists and like Rambo movies and stuff like that. Like you could put on a bandana and just make it work in case all this shit doesn't work out.
I can roughly get myself, like I can fight my way through a conversational interaction with somebody in Lithuanian still. So I could even put the accent on and really sell it.
Oh, wow. Wow, you should, dude, I can't do any accents well. So if you have a legit accent, you got to start doing comedy sketches, obviously.
Obviously, I've got to start making fun of it.
Yeah. And how long, so are you married to Ashley? Because I have one of those marriages that's like, we're common law. We never had the
we
party
are
of the
actually,
jewelry.
we got the government involved in 2019 and had a wedding in our backyard, which was perfect. It was just like a barbecue. It was so like us, kind of low key, and that was it. Then it was like at the end of 2019, and then the pandemic hit. So our marriage has been pandemic. We missed our honeymoon because of the pandemic. So
Yeah, a lot of people's marriages are pretty sick. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? My bad. That's not what I meant, honey.
We're out of time, James.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked is because I'm wondering. Like, I have all these friends, and they have either one of two different types of marriage dynamics, and with my friends, it's always either unhappy or a sitcom marriage, which is still a little bit unhappy. But like, and I would guess that you're not in an unhappy marriage, although I have no idea. I mean, maybe you are. No, sorry, I'm projecting again.
Okay.
Or is it a sitcom one? Because the sitcom one really annoys me because it's like it puts you into this role. Like Bob Saget was a dirty comedian, and then someone said, "Hey, maybe that guy should be the dad on Full House."
Full House,
and,
yeah.
And then he said, "So I that's how I feel."
But
what would
we would be? It started off really gross, like it was. We were the gross couple of just the two.
Really?
Oh my God, there she is, right, honey? We were
like,
gross.
I was like, I don't know what would be my cue. Oh, describing the relationship is gross. There she is.
Yep. No, it's true. We were pretty gross.
Like schmoopy, that kind of thing?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Loopy?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
that is
like
gross.
we were glued to each other.
Is that why you had a bath today?
Yeah, that's why I bathed.
It's not even bath day for the week, and
that's why I have eyebrows on.
My wife
Me too.
bathes every day. Our water bill reflects it. And
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was gross, but then it's dug its ruts nicely. You know what I mean? Like
we chilled out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very comfortable marriage. It's a very comfortable relationship. We're still best friends. You know what I mean? Like it's still that sort
This
of.
is
of thing.
infuriating me.
I'm
Can I
sorry.
All
see?
of this.
Can I
This is
see your
making
mug?
me angry. Oh, sorry. Oh, Mrs. Always Right, and yeah.
This
See?
is why you
Sitcom.
did this.
It's a sitcom.
I asked
husband.
her. I said,
That's right.
"Can you get me a tea?" And that's why you did this. Okay.
I'm so ready.
I had no idea you were coming.
I know.
Is there scotch in that tea or anything like something?
No,
Just
no.
a nice
I'll
cup
save
of tea.
I'll save the booze for the 3:00 show.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Now,
we're still kind of gross.
Do you guys have the same drinking habits? Because I find that it's helpful.
No, she
I don't
doesn't
really
drink.
drink.
Nah, it's very, very rare that she but when she does, holy fuck, look out. But it's hers is you can count on one hand how many times she actually indulges in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep that end up for the both of us. So
Well, I come from a long line of alcoholics and I've seen some shit, so I'm
now she
good.
married. Now she married one, so it's good.
Yeah,
the
I
circle
think
of
I was
life.
the first alcoholic in my family. I just
ya?
wanted to start a new thing.
That's
No,
fair.
I don't think so. No, my grandfather was like he was like my favorite relative, but he was a drunk, and I didn't realize it obviously until like I was older and my family told me. But they were like, Jamie, don't you remember making drinks for him and stirring it with it? Like I was his little bartender.
Yeah, I was that for
So
my
I was like-
grandparents.
Yep.
I loved
Been
it.
there.
I felt
Not
like
not my. There was my English grandparents that were the booze hounds, not my Lithuanian ones, but my English ones. Same thing. I learned how to pour because she used to tell you use your fingers, just measure it with your fingers.
yeah,
They were the
You
ones
want
that
three
got my
fingers
love
of
for
vodka, Pappy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, with a splash, and she used to say just a splash of Pepsi for color. So
For color.
Yeah.
for color.
One does want to make appearances,
I've been able to make a quality, flavorful Caesar since the age of 7.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like with
I
all
just
the
did rum and,
sections.
yeah, I just did rum and cokes, and then he drank vodka and 7-Up, I think.
could
And we
never
played
un-
gin rummy. Like, dude, we would start playing cards at like 7:30 at night, and we'd stop at like 3 in the morning. And I was like 8. You know what I mean?
See, I could never understand how they knew that I was stealing sips out of the drinks when I was making them as a kid. Until I realized that when they got White Russians, you could see the milk, the little milk thing. So they wouldn't. Yeah, I wasn't a very smart kid apparently.
Did you get drunk ever when you were a kid?
No, I don't think I actually got. I never got drunk until I was like 16, maybe 15, 16. And it was actually with the guy that owned that Pioneer. The guy's dad. It was the kid that I got the job with. He was my friend. And we got drunk on a case of Labatt Triple X. You know that fucking shit swill,
Ew.
that
Jesus
beer? Yeah.
Christ,
Well,
I can
you're
still see the
16,
label.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll never forget that.
I was the last guy to drink in my friend circle. Like I got drunk for the first time. I think I was like 13 or 14, but I hated it. So then I just didn't drink. And then when I started drinking again at 16, I would have like the neck of the beer and then just hand it off to my best friend because I didn't like to get bloated. So I did barely drink. And then I don't know what happened. I think my life got dark and I turned to drinking because then it became like for the next 30 years or whatever. But yeah, my parents didn't drink. My dad didn't drink.
Wow.
You know, my mom did like socially, but she never kept alcohol in the house even.
That was like my mom. My mom was a social drinker, and then but she was one that she was like Ashley. She was the same kind of person. Wouldn't drink, but then when she drank, looked the fuck out. She became the life of the party. So
Yeah.
fun drunk.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
So did you say in a DM a while back that you were a PI?
I was. Yeah, I was actually a.
I'm dying to know about that.
Licensed private investigator. I did domestic investigations. I did WSIB fraud.
So you were
Yeah.
like, did you ever have to catch someone cheating? Like
Yeah,
walking
we
into
did that
motels and
once.
stuff?
Yeah, actually.
Can we talk after the show? Because I have a feeling.
I want to. Actually, my license is expired now. I still have a badge.
Even
around
better.
somewhere, but
Totally under the radar.
that's right. But yeah, no. Domestic was the domestic ones were fun. The WSIB ones were very dry. Those you never really got in. I did labor dispute injunction evidence gathering as well, which was another one where you would sit at a picket line for 12 fucking hours a day and you were bored out of your mind. But yeah, the domestic ones though, I'll never forget. It was actually here in Hamilton, the Mount Albion area. followed a couple into where you park, and then they walked into the woods. And they
Totally innocent. I don't know
middle
what
of the
their
day,
spouse's
middle of the
problem
day,
was.
yeah,
Who doesn't
just
love a hike?
off the trail, and they're banging away in the broad daylight. And of course, here's me. I've got to get evidence, right? So I'm taking pictures. Buddy sees me with the camera.
Oh my god.
I then, because he's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even see you guys. I'm sorry. There's a, what did I say? It was like a."
There's a lie in the way.
It was like an Albanian red-breasted some bird. I just pulled it out of my ass, and I said, there's a nest of them and I bored them. Like I bored them into leaving, right?
Yeah.
There's a nest of them. There's a nest of them right back there. So it was.
Was that your birder voice?
Kind of. Yeah.
There's lots of sparrows here. If you sit here for long enough.
Because I didn't have I had a telephoto lens, but it wasn't like it didn't look like a bird guy. I looked like a PI because I'm, with the hat and the.
Did you have a trench coat and everything?
No, but so that was fun. I also had a guy that his wife was an adult entertainer, and he wanted to make sure that she wasn't actually doing anything in champagne rooms. And this guy was like, these people that do this are loaded.
How
like,
could he not trust his own wife?
You have to have a lot of money, right? to usually procure the services, especially in a domestic investigation, because there's a ton of money. There's time, there's gas, there's expenses. So this guy was loaded. And I went after his wife, and I wore a jacket. It was a jean jacket that had a camera in one of the buttons. Because how else are you going to do this, right? So I can't walk in with a camera, and he wants video evidence of her either fucking around or not. He's thinking that she was like prostituting herself in the
Try to get an angle from underneath if you could.
Yeah.
Maybe something that would play well in slow motion later.
Yeah. Who's funding this?
Well, that was I'm not going to tell you. It was a very, very not prominent, but prominently wealthy person. And
he probably hired the guy too.
Well, he hired me to go in and proposition with a lot of money, and I had a lot of money, and she refused it. She, no, that's not what no, I'll give you a dance, whatever, blah blah blah, and she kisses you on the cheek and stuff, but she wouldn't take the money, right? So he was very happy with that. So those ones were more fun because you got to do a lot more. But people are crazy. Somebody will pay money for you to spy on their spouse. There's something wrong, right? So,
well, if I may, in this particular situation, the client was quite satisfied that Ryan found out there was no wrongdoing and then left her to complete her work as a stripper in the champagne room of a strip club. Probably high on cocaine. Go on.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was I supposed to do? Just get up and walk out?
No. I'm just saying. I'm not
talk
talking
about
about you.
awkward-
I'm talking about that guy.
I was going to say, you want to talk about an awkward debriefing?
Yes.
Well, yes, sir. Your wife, in fact, doesn't cheat on you for money, and great tits. Because you got to. Yeah.
And then he adjusted his belt and was like, say that again.
No.
She has great tits.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was fun. It was a good job. It's just the problem with it especially here, it's not like you see on TV. It's not like you have an office where you're getting calls all day long. The work is throwing
a tennis ball against the wall,
right?
Talking about old times,
Yeah.
Your secretary is a girl you have sex with once in a while, and she's not really bright.
Yeah. Kind of.
Isn't that stereotype for that kind of shit?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, they run the office because they have to be on the ball and shred shit, stuff like that.
So that's why we got into the. It was like a multifaceted. With the labor dispute investigations are actually big money, so you got into that, but there's only so many places that are on strike that need services, and there's lots of competition in Ontario for that kind of job. So it's like, well, it's not.
Did you know him actually when he was a PI?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. I
No,
was just
this is-
wondering if you ever walked up to her and she was like, "What do you do for a living?" And you just went, "A PI lady," or something. And then it would be funny if she was like, "Isn't that just like insurance claims mostly?"
yeah,
She knew the whole industry.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I romanticized what a private investigator was when I was a kid. I thought it was like some dope ass like there was like spy up here and then private investigator just a little bit below that. Like
yeah.
Sounds
Yeah, it was
right.
fun. Like I say, it was fun. It was a good job, but it wasn't sustainable for a family, like to raise a family on, unless you owned a company. I was working for somebody, right? So it was the work came as it came, and then in between you were checking ID at a bar. So it wasn't sustainable to do the whole family adult thing.
how did you end up working with the Dean Blundell network? How did that even happen? Like I feel like you came out of nowhere one day. It was just like
That's about it.
and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, I'm Ryan. I'll be almost everything. How are you?"
Be doing all the things.
Ryan has a really big mouth on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's
People
pretty
notice.
much it. And what happened
Like you
was,
gained like 2,000 followers in the last second,
yeah.
something. You know.
I know. I looked at it the other day. It's almost at $5,000. I was like, holy shit! Like this is nuts, right? So, I
But one thing I was like so proud. I was like, this guy's doing a lot. At least I have more Twitter followers than. Oh nope, not anymore.
Fuck.
Like he totally ran by me, and I'm just like, help! I keep on offending people that follow me, and then they unfollow me. Like I'm trying to crawl towards this.
we
finish line.
when the pandemic hit, the second year of the pandemic, I should say, we got really frustrated by that point because of Ashley's job, what she was going through, and it was one of those. There's only so much screaming on Facebook you can do, and there's only so much tweeting you can do to let out that frustration and
Yeah.
conversation. So I was like, why don't we get a podcast? And because everybody was podcasting because of the pandemic, so I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? I've always had a radio was my dream as a kid. I always wanted to be a radio guy, right? And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's invest a couple of bucks and get this rolling. So we did it. The Sheeple Shepherd was born, and it went great. So one day, it was pandemic related, I'm sure. There was an argument on Twitter going on, and I've always followed Dean. I've been a fan of Dean's for his entire career,
Yeah.
more or less. And he was going on about it with somebody, and there was another mutual friend involved. So I got in, and I jumped into the mix, and we ended up obliterating somebody online. And then I got a DM from Dean afterwards saying, "Hey,
Age, sex, location. Oh, sorry.
I said,
Yeah,
you
pretty much.
you got a podcast, I see." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "My wife and I explained it to him." He goes, "You ever wanted to, join a network?" And I'm like, "I didn't even know there was a network, to tell you the truth." Like, I was
Cool.
a very passive fan of
What's a
Dean at the
network?
time. So then we talked on the phone that weekend. We had like a 3-hour conversation. The Dean phone calls.
He's a
And,
great phone conversationalist.
Yeah.
I hate the fucking phone. I hate it.
Oh.
But when Dean's
Yeah.
on the phone,
Yeah.
I don't mind
Yeah.
it because it's
Yeah.
actually you're right. He holds a good combo. So
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
I
just
said,
let me
yeah,
write a note not to call you anymore. I just
move
Oh
it.
my god.
Move it to the Dean Blundell network, and the rest is history. And it just I ended up going after the teachers. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I went to bat with the teacher back to school articles, and I defended the teachers and took their stories,
Yeah.
and I blew it up, and tried to repair the relationship Dean had with the teachers, and it was huge. I ended
It
up
went well.
like literally, I'd say overnight. You want to talk about Twitter following? At that point, I only had like 400 people following me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Overnight was 1,000 follows, and I know they were all teachers. So if any of them are watching now, hi, thanks guys, love you. But yeah, the coverage of that, I ended up guesting. I had Ryan, Stats Ryan, on my show. And I asked Dean, I said, "Do you ever heard of this guy?" And he's like, "No." He goes, "Should I?" I'm like, "Yeah, follow him and look at his stuff." He goes, "This guy's brilliant." So I had him on my show, and then literally the next day, Ryan went on Dean's show, and I went on Dean's show to talk about the teacher stuff as a guest. And then I can't remember who was off. Somebody was off, and he sent me a message. He goes, "Hey, you want to fill in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sure, I'll fill in." and then I just
He never
became part of the
left.
regular crew. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
our I like our inner circle. I think we should like turn it into a show somehow. Seriously, like a podcast reality show. Can you imagine who do you think would break down first if we all lived in a house together? Like who do you
You.
think would be like, you know what? I've had a
You.
fucking oh dude. No.
I would have
You-
said Ryan.
I have so much endurance when it comes to dealing with crazy fucking people that I could, dude. I lived with my stepmother for years. I could do this show just literally. I would do it naked just to see who would
So
leave.
you mean
first,
like a
just
Big
anyways,
Brother
right?
for our podcast? Is that what you mean? Like something along
Yeah.
those lines?
I think it would be. I don't know. I feel like it would be Lachlan or Dean. Like,
Yeah, I don't see
you know?
Dean. I don't see Dean suffering it very well.
No, Dean would be
I-
like,
I
I
don't
really
think-
don't have to put up with this. I own the
Yeah.
network and I'm leaving now.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could either. Now that you put it that way,
No, you would lose your mind.
I would. Ashley knows.
I
I'm
would
not
be
a.
laughing the whole.
Yeah, I know. I
No,
know.
you
all-
no.
But we would. But we would find ways to get under your skin to the point where you would want to kill us. So
You know what the weird thing is that I was known as a hothead when I was young,
yeah,
and I'm not known as one now by people who have like met me in the last say 10, 15 years. But a hothead will come out of me in very specific situations. I don't get offended. I don't care what you say, da da da. But if I am talking and I'm about to make my point, and the funny thing is I do it to other people, and someone just cuts me off, it is like physiological. It's not even my fault. It's completely involuntary
Who would
that I
do?
want to rip your head off and shove it in the stump somehow just because you cut me off. But the thing is that I do it. And you know what
Yeah.
my excuse is? Does it bother you? No. Well, it bothers me. If something bothers you that doesn't bother me, same thing. No.
why
doesn't.
doesn't this bother you?
I can't hide it either. I literally this is me hiding it. So cut me off if I'm talking right now, Ryan. Like I'll continue to talk and you.
So I'm
Then
gonna make a
what
fantastic
What if we
point.
went and did the? Yeah, my favorite is when you actually leave. Like I've seen you actually just get up and walk away. It's like, why am I here?
I say that stuff too.
It's not
Who am I
passive
talking
aggressive
to?
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's quite aggressive.
If people actually pay attention to that show, it's great because there's a lot of micro content that happens in that show with facial expressions and side conversations. Like Lachlan and I can't look at him at certain points in the show because when I look at him, I start laughing, and when he sees me laughing, he starts laughing, and then we start talking to each other. While Dean's off on a rant about something, or Lachlan and I will talk like this. Talk like this, and he'll be like, "Stop it!" I'm like, "No, you stop it." And like, you don't notice it until like the playback, and it's like,
Yeah.
those guys are having their own
Lot-
show.
I don't think we've ever done that on purpose, but I know exactly what you mean because a lot of times the setup will be accidental. It'll be like a joke that Dean didn't hear or something like that, and I'll be like, "That was a good one, Lachlan." You saw that? You saw that? Yeah, I saw that.
It's so good.
It's good.
No, I think the chemistry on that panel is phenomenal. I've always loved the core group of guys that are in that show. Even this was before, like when I was just a fan watching, I always loved it, and then to become a part of it was fucking surreal. It was like this is
And now with the hard pivot to the left, I'm not expendable. Just kidding. You know what I mean?
Right?
I'm just kidding. Like, no, I wanted to talk about. I think we might talk about that today on Dean's show, but maybe we can touch on a little bit about. And I always have trouble explaining it the way I want to explain it because I'm not co-signing this idea of like a left-wing outlet or a right-wing outlet, but society at large sort of does. And like I don't have, at the very least, I'm not aware of any media outlet that has a company branding of being like ambidextrous. Like there is no left or right. Like it's totally, and I can't think of one.
not branded. No, I don't think. I think you're right. I don't think there's a brand. There's obviously everybody has their thoughts. Like people will say, "Oh, NPR." It's like, well, no, NPR is. They don't advertise that they're centrist,
Yeah.
and they're also not centered.
They're quite left, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty sure NPR.
Yeah, Reuters, same thing. Like just like any wire service. Wire service is really the only. I even hate saying
It's
non-biased.
just the facts.
It's just the facts usually, right? And as long as you're reading past headlines, You can usually make that assumption, but you're right. I don't think any of them. There isn't one that's actually branded. We are conservative news, and I mean mainstream. Like you have the America One News, you have Rebel, you have all those fucking, but they're not mainstream.
Eagle, Liberty.
But I brought this up yesterday in that conversation we were having about it. Is they've muddied the water of the independents so bad that it's just as bad as mainstream media now. So what? At least they label themselves that way, so we can know what we're trying to get. But I don't think there is a centrist one out there, really. Other like,
yeah, it's weird because I don't even want to think in those terms. I find it exhausting. I wish we could just like be an outlet and do what we do, because it would just fall in the same lines as it would if we were trying to do that anyways. Like I think that's just the way that we're wired. A lot of people are like that, by the way. Most people that you talk to, you'll find, I think, at least in my world, is you'll talk to people about what their beliefs in politics are, and a lot of them say a variation of this. I don't care about liberal or conservative. I don't know, somewhere in between. And it's like, and they just yell at each other, and I just feel like I don't want to be involved. And that conversation is super common. And I feel like that's the space that is like such a big target. But people are so tempted to label you. So they're going to, so it was this whole thing started because I was getting flack because I wasn't changing the Flu Klux Klan hashtag on the auto
Twitter.
tweets.
yeah,
Dude, so many people were like, I thought you were different than that, James. I thought that you were better than that. And I'm just like,
You let me down.
okay. So you know what I did? In my drafts in my email, I had this draft, and the draft was just it was basically something like the tweet in question is auto tweeted, as every podcast tweet is. I don't actually write that tweet. I'll try to remember to edit it because it doesn't reflect my views, but I still love Dean. Da, 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 da. And I'm just, so I would just copy and paste it. Dear Angela, dear. And I would just say the same thing, and people would argue with me. They're like, you have to make sure you change that, man. Your personal brand is going to be impacted. And I'm like,
just sending out a form letter to apologize. What are you, a politician?
Right.
Right. But anyways, but that is what made me go, oh, I wonder if COVID and more specifically, the convoy stuff is going to make others, and it's not about caring whether or not they do this. I'm just wondering if it actually exists. Sort of start to label us as more of a left network.
Yeah, I understood where you were coming from, but at the same time, I had to think about it a bit harder before jumping on the, we're center. I don't think
I would say we're center. I would just to clarify. I don't want to say that. I don't think we should say that.
No. I get what you're. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of how to
one
put
issue
this.
at a time. People, I think.
Yeah.
And everybody's pretty much on the same side of, as long as you're not fucking anybody else over, I don't care what you do. And this one was big. Like, it was, if you believed in, the right thing, that made you a liberal, and if you believed in, that the government's tyrannical, you're a conservative. I just didn't. It labeled itself, I think, and whatever side of that you turn to, all of a sudden you got that label affixed to you, and I don't think it was fair. I'm a left-leaning conservative, I would say. I'm a guy that I think
schizophrenic. What?
Yeah, I think everybody should get the help that they deserve, that we can afford in this country. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we should sell the farm doing it. I don't think, I do have a lot of value in helping our own veterans and our own people, our own homeless crisis, before sending money overseas to fund wars and shit like that.
That's a very libertarian take.
Oh, I think there's something we can take from every book, and if we took those parts from every book and made a politician out of that, A, it would be the first one in fucking history, and B, we would be in a way better place, I think. I really do.
Actually, would you ever run for office? I always ask women that question. Always. Why not?
No, because I don't pay enough attention to anything.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's a really good reason.
It's because I talk too much.
Yeah, I just.
I'm dropping out of this race because I'm really not paying attention to the issues that are dictating
Yeah,
this,
no,
and I think
yeah.
it's best for everyone if I leave.
Yeah, that's why I don't chime in on things. If I don't know exactly what I'm saying, then why am I going to say it? I know what I
Yeah.
feel, but
Which
that
is we.
doesn't mean that it's
I
right.
don't understand why you
Well,
have
there
a
was a
Twitter
convoy
account
you
then.
could have went to if that's how you if you wanted
I'm
to
good.
escape that
I'm
rule.
good.
You know?
See, and it's like I said, there's things that I know that I don't want. That's for sure. But just because I don't want them doesn't mean that they're terrible for everybody. So, like I said,
Yeah,
my opinion's not that important. I don't need to run for anything.
That's not true. Ryan,
I don't
tell
think
her.
that's
Tell
no.
her that's
I don't
not
think
true.
that's true either.
No, that's why I
She-
vote for things.
You guys should take marital advice from me. Freddie?
We could talk.
Run!
Take happiness. Take happiness classes from James DiFiore.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy.
Well, he's smiling.
Well, I wanted to try to find a way to pivot actually to the thing that I think, Ryan, you and I disagree on this particular thing, which is I think that the convoy was branded unfairly because I think that there are extremists in every type of protest. And then that aside, I saw a CBC article this morning. I'm sorry, I didn't get the asset. The only asset I got, I stopped because I was just adoring this for like 20 minutes before the show, and I just couldn't stop. So I was like, oh, fuck it, let's use that. But I saw an article in the CBC that was saying that they were talking about the mental health of the residents and how everyone was really concerned and they were frightened and I think that we're not seeing something, and that's we are reporting and like sort of talking about this convoy, not from the perspective of like legal things or whatever, but from the perspective of whether or not we cared about the issue as to why they were there. Because if you do a thought experiment and you imagine a Black Lives Matter protest, and can you even imagine CBC asking the traumatized residents how they felt about a loud protest? It would be immediately dismissed as like racist and like, you know. And that's not because it's racist if you do it to the other side. It's because it doesn't have any value as a thing. Because what made their, you know, it
holds no currency on one side. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so worried that we're getting more and more polarized, and like because we're not careful with how we talk about certain things. You know.
I sat in on a city council meeting in Ottawa yesterday, just virtually, and watched a bit of it. And a lot of delegates from the town showed up. Was that your phone, James? You gave me shit for my phone, and now your phone's ringing.
I'm the host. My phone can ring.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But and they had delegates from people that live down there, work down there, businesses and stuff. And when you hear it on that level, and I don't care who the protesters are, if you're in my fucking house, you know, and you're doing shit that's pissing me, I don't care who you are. I don't care how noble your cause is. I'm going to be pissed as a resident. From an outsider perspective, I think you're right. I think we kind of collectively may have muddied it just because it was so brutal of a just no organization, no nothing. Like there was nothing to tie to it, and it was like a mishmash of maybe some people with some opinions or beliefs that were a little different, right down to the hardcore Nazi flag waving racists that showed up. But they always co-opt. It doesn't matter. Any sort of controversial.
They're like the Antifa
protest.
of the right. They just.
It's kind of it, and that's exactly it. They won't co-opt a Black Lives Matter movement, obviously, because you're not going to sell anything there. But they'll come sell their flags and T-shirts at one of these movements because there's a free for all. But I had a conversation yesterday with my friend from work, and we talked about how bad Justin Trudeau fucked this up, and how all that could have been avoided with it, and with his name calling and that's problematic in its own right. But the fact that all he had to do instead of running away when he said he had COVID when this started was literally have a Zoom meeting with them and say we're lifting the mandates. We're lifting all the rules slowly and surely, and they would have said, no, we want it done right now. He's like, well, we can't do that. Sorry, it's not to your timetable, but we're doing it. Then he would have had the ammo to go on camera and say, I did this. I talked to them. I tried to reason. You know what I mean? But he didn't do that, so he lost that credibility and he lost that position of power that he could have had to actually turn the entire country around and say, hey, fuck off. He talked to you. He did what you wanted, and you know he's doing it. I think it was handled bad right from the get go, on both sides. Obviously, the organization side of the protesters and the Liberal government's response after they got involved, right?
Everything seemed so, like at the beginning, all the Liberal politicians were like, these are hate groups and the swastika. And like, to me, that's a point within a larger story. And the larger story is like, there's a lot of, see, I guess I have a way of like telling myself, don't look at the reason why they're there. Just look at the fact that they're there. And if they were a group of people who were doing something that you were interested in, and it would look the same, therefore the issue is not important. I just kept on trying to go back to that space because I can't see how we're going to get out of the mess that we are in as far as ideologies go. And I've been worried about that, as you know, since the beginning. Yeah. I'm scared to death of waking up one day and like, because the people that have the most guns, I don't really agree with you. You know, except the rappers. I agree with the rappers.
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
Fair.
Yeah. So
most of them are pretty left wing.
Yeah, really left wing, I'd say. but they read. They probably read my piece in Black Lives Matter, and maybe I got death threats from Black Lives Matter support, and they were really good.
Didn't you have to get somebody involved to like speak on your behalf? Wasn't that the story?
It was the same story, but this wasn't related to the death threats. The death threats were because I said that the Black Lives Matter co-founder in Toronto should resign because she said that Caucasians were subhuman, and she said that Justin Trudeau was a white supremacist terrorist and all this stuff. And it's far surpassed a lot of the language that you heard from the convoy.
Right.
And just as an aside, she won a leadership award about a year and a half later. So congratulations. Well done. Yeah. And I wrote this piece, and it was like, you know, and Huffington Post editors used to try to get me, get me hate mail basically, because they were decidedly progressive, often younger than me. And I was contributor there for like 3 years, I guess. And they would, so the headline was Black Lives Matter co-founder needs to resign. And then it's like my white face, right? So I'm like, I didn't say that. That's not the headline I would have chosen. So they wanted to get me kind of in trouble. Yeah. And I, you know, and everyone was just like, it spread like wildfire, and everyone, bunch of people hated it. But the death threats were like, it would be like, the subject would be like, click. And then the email had a picture, and it was just like a close-up of a guy with a gun. Yeah. And it's just like, okay.
Ooh.
A few more like that. So then Chuck D called me a racist while I'm getting death threats.
That was the story. Yeah.
And Chuck D was like one of my favorite rappers growing up. I had his picture on my wall and shit, and then you grow up, and that guy's calling you a racist. So, which bothered me more than the death threats, I gotta tell you. It really did. Like, so much more.
That one shot my heart.
Yeah, like my childhood, like a piece of my childhood is like flying away. But we have a mutual friend in Ernie Panicoli, who's a hip hop photographer. So he mediated, and it actually, it was more than just like whatever. Like it was more than it actually, he spoke about like about how he read it over, and he understands the position that even if we don't agree, he knows I'm not hateful. So I was like, okay, thanks. So
Thank you.
Everything's fine. Then I got another death threat, and I was like, I don't care.
Chuck D likes me. Fuck you.
I feel better. It's okay. It's fine.
Call me if Nas has anything bad to say about me, because then Ashley.
Yes, sir.
How tall are you? Because I want to know how short I'm going to be when I meet you guys. You're taller than me, aren't you?
Like 5'4".
Oh, sweet. Okay.
There you go.
That'd be good.
I'm Bonzi sized.
Yeah.
Is Bonzi only 5'4"?
Yeah, he'll tell you otherwise, but I've stood beside him.
Really?
It's pretty funny.
I love him.
That's
but-
hilarious. I
but
thought he
he's
was like
little.
5'10".
No.
It's funny.
No, we have a very short crew. Other than it's like Locke, Dean, and I think are
Yeah.
like around the same. We're about 6'3", and then everybody it's like everybody else is a foot shorter than us.
We're like your
Yeah,
lollipop
about
guild.
that.
It's going to be hard.
Well,
when,
I'm used to
when
that.
we actually do when this moves into the next level and the next phase of this. When we have to go and get the cheesy group shots, we're gonna have to. We'll bring Jimmy so everybody
Yeah.
feels better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for the reality show too, for the Big Brother thing. Yeah, That's
Absolutely.
it's gonna be me and Bonzi living there for like years. Which is neither of us are gonna
yeah.
budge.
That's just where he lives now. He's
You know
no
what,
fixed
though?
address.
Exactly.
Bonzi's pretty easy to live with, based on what I've
Yeah.
seen. So
Yeah, he was here
Are
for
you
a
sure?
few days. Yeah,
yeah,
he was-
Oh.
he's like very
Because
tidy.
that's not the
and-
story that we got out of Edmonton. It's been a little
No,
bit different.
I think that was a little bit of embellishment in the Edmonton stories. I think Chris,
which is
Chris
which is
hammed
really
it up
weird
for
because
us.
Lachlan is not known for that.
Not at all. No.
No,
Especially if
he'll
it'll make the joke more embarrassing for another person. He never.
Right?
does
He would
that.
never take that road. He never pulls that card ever.
No, Bonzi's
So
cool.
funny.
He puts enough water in the kettle for both of us, so he can stay.
That's right.
Aw.
Yeah, he's a very
Yeah,
very,
I was told that Bonzi has that gift of like by the time he leaves, the wife who just met him will like him more than the friend he's had for years.
Yeah, he's delightful.
Indeed.
Like, he can come back
Yeah.
anytime.
yeah.
I want him up here. I told him he could come up here, and then he decided to go to the land of cocaine for some reason.
He's coming
Wonder
back.
why.
though.
It's weird.
I'm so happy I decided not to go visit him.
No kidding. That would have been I heard you guys talking when you had him on the show, and that would have
Yeah.
been a mess. We wouldn't have got.
I
you
would
back.
have. What I would have done is actually like, I'm not going to drink just because I'm in Nicaragua, but I'll do a bump, even though I don't ever do bumps when I'm not drunk. And
so
then it will
much
probably
fun.
get me too high, so I'll just try to dull it with alcohol and go the other
That's
way.
the way.
Don't ever do things that I did. Ever.
There's the PSA, kids.
Yeah. Hi, I'm James. Don't ever do the things that I did. I did them.
Don't
Yeah.
do what Donnie don't does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could say the
that's
same
right.
about me. Don't do what I've done.
Yeah, we all have our own versions of it. I know. I'm not. Yeah, that's it's. The reason why I asked you earlier, by the way, Ryan, about whether or not you guys drink the same amount is because most guys that I know that have wives that don't drink like hear it from them all the time about their drinking all the time.
No, Ashley is the
Actually,
one that
you should
actually
teach a
brings-
class about being a good wife.
She's the one that brings me my drinks when we're on the air.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
smack
like-
her in the
I
butt
do-
when she walks away?
I think I did once. She
Mm-hmm.
did come on camera once when I.
Yeah, we have
made it
that.
look like that.
We made a
somewhere in the
very
archive.
Yeah.
a very misogynistic joke about it, and I think I smacked her butt. Wasn't my proudest moment, but I was probably
It's-
drunk.
It's for a laugh, and you're a good man.
There you go. Jesus Christ! This is so foreign to me. I just want to watch you guys talk.
That's my ride or die chick, brother.
That's right. All right, guys, let's call it a night. Listen, next time I want to do this right because that thing that shall not be mentioned should have been mentioned, but we're gonna,
I love how you mentioned it, even though we weren't
I didn't mention
mentioning
it. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's fine. It's okay. We'll
Listen.
We'll cut. We'll do a part 2.
If there's something that I know about, it's conflict with our colleagues in the network.
Don't you though?
I've gone through my share, basically everyone except for Bonzi, because
Yeah.
Bonzi, yeah.
It's hard. Like, how do you do it with Bonzi? You can't
don't
do
know.
that with Bonzi. But no,
And
you.
how- like, you got.
I
Our
couldn't fight with him.
relationship actually got better, I think, after we had that little tiff, and
Yeah, I think
I
so, too.
consider you a very good friend now. So
The only thing I
Aw.
don't regret is the Eminem gif. I just love that too much with the microphone that he drops.
it's so funny when you brought it up yesterday. I actually had to think to remember what the hell the issue was. That's how rear view.
Oh,
is,
because I
right?
said
So-
you, because I accused you of choking by removing your piece. It was. I don't want to dredge up this because it's totally
We're
done. and
fighting
I thought
again.
it was. Yeah. Imagine that we got on the
Shots
air
fired.
on Dean's show. We're just like, I don't know,
Fuck
Ryan.
you!
Sorry, what did you say, Ryan? I really wasn't listening to anything you were just saying. Yeah, I don't know.
that's
Like
funny.
sometimes people need to get that out, and I got to tell you, I know it's my fault in the sense that I hate typing words that I would normally talk. They don't come out the same. I don't know what it is. I think people think I'm angry when I'm like high.
We're
or
really
something.
we're really aware of your loss of nuance in text now, and you've made us
Yeah.
aware of it. Like you've told us, hey guys, listen, don't and it literally did, because you don't know how to take you in a text sometimes, but now that you know that, you're like, oh, okay. You play both sides of the conversation. You're like, he must mean it this way.
Well, but because I get worried, I'm just like, okay, this is hilarious. This morning in chat, I think it was Lachlan. Remember, Lachlan was talking about astrology. You and Lachlan were talking about
Oh
astrology
my
stuff.
God.
Yeah.
And then Lachlan and Dean were like, "Oh, I thought Ryan was a Cancer there," and then Dean's like, "What? You mean like malignant?"
That was me.
And I'm a
I said,
and I'm a
no, that was me.
Well,
I said that about
Oh, what?
myself. That was me that
no,
made
but
the joke.
but Dean
I said,
said
I've been
something else
referred
that
to
was.
that.
Dean said something else that was in that vein, right? But anyways, when I was scrolling, it doesn't even matter
Yeah.
because it's so fucking ridiculous. When I was, and I'm like, I'm a Cancer. Are Dean and Lachlan just playing a joke? Is this a gag? So I looked up Lachlan's birthday,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh, I'm actually a Cancer, but I feel more like an Aquarius because I hate myself so much." And just to cover my end, just in case they were trying to play a joke on me, I was just like, because they're morning guys, they make me paranoid that like, hey James, can you give me a call later on? It could be totally innocent, but I'll be like, okay, he's got something in store. When you're on the phone,
They're
assume you're being
recording this.
taped. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
But yeah.
no, it's definitely a good dynamic, that group, and I love it's one of those things you look forward to now, is that conversation, and the and it's not an automatic echo chamber, just especially with you in there. It's helpful to have you as the
I'm not expendable, baby.
no, you're kind of the you're good you're good for keeping us all from going too far over into one gutter or the other. So
That's true. In our group, I should be the supervisor. You're totally right. Like,
you're
I agree
right.
with that. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So weird. It's weird being that guy.
You should be the boss.
Most
You should be the
controversial guy is
boss.
also the guy that's, making sure the etiquette is being kept.
That's it.
So stupid. All right. I'm sorry I made this mostly about me.
I was just going to say, this is a great
It is
interview,
your
James.
show.
Thanks for coming. And
Yeah. Thanks for listening to me. I hope I didn't talk your ear off. Really, can we talk about your marriage off air? Is that what's your secret? Just kidding. All right, guys.
booze.
I'll see you in an hour.
Hot.
Yeah, we'll be hitting the
Shrooms.
Ukraine
Right.
stuff pretty hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, I better
Russia,
start looking
Ukraine.
up the Ukraine stuff.
Yeah, it's
I
getting
only know
heavy.
the overarching story, not the
It's not
microcosmic
good.
stuff.
He's doing some things that he said he wasn't going to do, and it's already being caught within the first 48 hours. So
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought, right?
Everyone except Republicans.
Yeah,
and
it's
Tucker
getting.
Carlson, who was virtually blowing him on the air again last night. So
Did you see that poll from like 2018 or something like that? It was like 56 or something % of Republicans respected Putin more than Obama. Like
funny.
that is so like people are almost
so
like not surprised by
anti-American.
that.
Okay.
But that's
Yeah.
people not being surprised by that is also the problem. Like there's
Yeah.
so many problems with that. Like they were the enemy forever.
This would be a
but
55 part documentary series if we broke down all the problems with
yeah,
this right now.
because what is the
it's-
main difference between Barack Obama and the rest of the U.S. presidents? I can't quite put my finger on it.
I'm not
and
sure.
now there's also a report just came out about an hour ago that there was 9 Chinese military planes seen in the no-fly zone over Taiwan.
Oh,
So I have
Yeah,
a feeling
North
they
Korea
may
is
be
probably going to test a fucking missile in the next 3
Yeah,
days.
I have a feeling they're going to be using this as a cover for because China wants Taiwan back, right? So it's not a
I
good
have a
time
feeling
to
I
be-
love living where I live right now.
really. And you know
The
what?
only thing I
look
can
at-
think of is Russia taking my land for some strategic purpose. No, Vlad and I will just hang out,
I can deal with vodka and
Get
pierogies.
do
I'm good.
shrooms with Vladimir Putin. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I grew
that
up
sounds
with
terrifying.
I grew up with the Baltic Eastern European grandparents. I can deal with boiled potatoes and vodka for a few years
That's
if
true.
I have to.
Yeah,
That's true.
that'd be good.
All right, guys. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And Ashley,
Great to
thank
see you.
Thank you for leading by example, you marriage wizards. I appreciate it.
Love you,
I'll
buddy.
see you in about
See
an
you.
hour, buddy. Yep. I like impromptu interviews because I feel like the conversation can flow better. But yeah, Ryan, he's a good cat. I'm gonna keep interviewing people from the network. Who have I not interviewed yet? I got to interview Dean, Ali Mars. Probably I'll interview. I don't know, a few people. I did Lachlan and then now Ryan. And anyways, yeah, it is a little inside baseball, but thank you for joining us. Who do we have coming up? I have Nathaniel Erskine Smith on March 10th, and I have Fat Al from God Made Me Funky on March 24th, and a bunch of stuff before that I just want to solidify before I talk about. So yeah, thanks for joining us on Blackballed. We'll see you soon. Cheers.